Okay. Hey Becker, are you super hungry?
Okay, I'm ready to do this. I think let's do it.
That was the noise you just made.
That's my microphone testing noise. Good. Let's.
Ba 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 ba.
The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue.
The shit in my teeth, the piss in my bung.
Classic warm-up exercise from
Piss,
Dylan Waite's School
piss
of
in,
Acting.
Piss in my shit. Shit. Shitting in my piss. I think I'm ready. I think I think I'm warmed up.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Piss. Warm.
All right.
Local exercises.
Thank God.
Welcome to Is This Pinball, the only podcast asking the big questions of today, namely, is this pinball? Is this not pinball? And how pinball is this? I'm one of your co-hosts, Amy Langer, and with me today, as always, are Willie Caldwell and Dylan Waits.
Hey.
I didn't give you
Hi.
any time.
We're both here.
Who's got a pinball table to kick us off?
I'm gonna go last.
The strong move.
I didn't play any pinball this week.
Amy,
Hey, bud.
I guess it's up
Hey,
to
bud.
you. Bring us on
Hey,
home,
bud.
Langer. Come on back.
Yeah.
No, wait. Dylan, you know full well that we do not always, and in fact rarely actually talk about pinball. There's gotta be a thing that you can bring to rate to ask if it's a pinball, even if it's not a pinball.
Yeah,
table.
I mean, I got something. I just wanted
He's
to be
feeling
honest
shy,
with you.
Amy. He wants you to go
Fine.
first.
No.
Okay.
Look, I'll take the lead.
scared.
I'll take the lead. Give me the
I
lead.
have
Give
one.
me the
It's
reins.
just not. Yeah. Okay.
Is it not pinball too?
The reins.
I think we'll be the judge of that.
We'll be the judge of that. All right. Okay. Here's how it goes. I'll go first. I'll talk about the pinball table I brought today.
Okay.
Please do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The pinball table I brought today is actually a book. It's called The Histories, and it was written by Cornelius Tacitus sometime in the 1st century BCE. No, I'm sorry, CE. I get confused with the new, because you're not supposed to say AD anymore.
Really? Why
1st
not?
century AD, because it's too Christy.
So wait, what does CE mean?
Common era.
Common era.
When we all
So
agreed that now is the time, despite all the
it
other
just happens
civilizations
to
that
be
don't.
around like when Jesus was around. That when it went from uncommon to common, and then before
Purely
that, it
cosmetic
was rare.
change. Yeah.
And
Yeah, well, no, BCE is before Common Era. CE is anyway. Look, it was written in like the 1st century AD, and it follows. It starts at the death of the Emperor Nero, and moves forward in history into the reign of Vespasian. It covers about a year worth of Roman history. And it's pretty exciting stuff.
Can you give us some highlights?
I'll give you. Oh boy.
Yeah, give us
Yes,
the
I can.
highlights.
So the year 69 AD is the year that is
Nice.
in question.
Sorry.
In yeah. Oh, actually, maybe it was written during the 2nd century AD. Anyway, the year 69 AD is the focal point. This is the year that kicks off right after Nero's death. He is replaced by Galba. Galba tries to reform the troops and some other things in Roman society that Nero had. How familiar are you guys with Nero, the Roman emperor?
He's
somewhere between 0 and 1.
He was a guy who was he real hedonistic? Was that his thing? Was Nero the one? All I know
Yeah,
is that
that
he's
was his
always
thing.
okay. Because I know that crossword puzzles love to use it.
a horny boy.
Oh.
He was a horny boy, but he wasn't the horniest boy. He was...
Sorry. Who was the horniest boy?
Oh, Caligula was pretty horny. He fucked his sister.
No. That's horny in a bad way.
Yeah.
I think Commodus... No, wait, Commodus fucked his sister? Caligula was just fucking... Caligula was doing this thing where he was, like, fucking the wives of all of his friends and being like, do something. Which is not cool.
Dare ya.
What, am I dared and bearded to my face? Probably Commodus, either Commodus, Caligula, or those are probably the two horniest. But I'm sure there's some precedent. Well, really, the horniest is Jupiter.
Oh, that's
he's
true.
a god. So Nero, the famous depiction of Nero is that he was playing the fiddle while Rome burned, which is, of course, apocryphal. But Rome did catch on fire several times during his reign, and he it was scandalous because he liked to act and play music, and it was like, guy, you're the emperor, guy. You got to stop doing that. So he dies, and he gets taken. The throne is taken over by Galba. Galba's an old dude, and he's mostly just trying to like set things straight. We're not that deep into the empire. I mean, we're probably, I don't know how many decades, but a handful of decades into the empire. But like the Julio-Claudian dynasty, which is started by Augustus Caesar, who of course is the son of Julius Caesar. Those emperors continue, that lineage continues to Nero, and it ends. So Galba is the first non-Julio-Claudian emperor of Rome, and he tries to do some reforms. There are still people alive that are like, hey, remember when we were a republic? And so he tries to curb the ambitions of the troops and sort of their greediness and laziness. And of course, the troops don't like this. So within a couple months, he's murdered and replaced with Otho, who immediately has to arm for civil war because while Otho murdered Galba, this guy Vitellius was up in Germany amassing troops to murder Galba. And so he's like, okay, I guess we're marching on Otho, not Galba. Vitellius succeeds. Otho is killed. Vitellius takes over the throne. Everyone hates Otho. He's pretty much a bad guy, and they hate Vitellius too because he's lazy and he's got all these vices and stuff. So then on the far end of the empire in Syria, this guy Vespasian is like, well, I gotta clean this shit up. I'm not gonna let this stand. So he starts marching on Rome. He succeeds and replaces Vitellius, and his dynasty is pretty okay. He's pretty decent as an emperor. His son Titus is actually one of the most highly regarded emperors in the like early imperial sort of rogues gallery. But then his son Domitian just is terrible in a really bad way that sort of kills the dynasty. But so yeah, it sort of the majority of the text is lost. There's only 5 books that are preserved, and the 5th book breaks off about 15 pages in. So it's unfinished, and which is really frustrating. There's a German guy, Julius Civilis, like civil, not like syphilis.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to stage a rebellion in the midst of all the civil war because he's really trying to like, kick the Romans out of like Germany and France, or what will become Germany and France. And his story cuts off midway, and there's no other record of him in history, so we don't know what happened to him.
I bet he died.
We just don't.
Yeah,
he died for sure. He's in the middle of delivering the fucking baby. No, he's in the middle of delivering a speech about why the Romans should have clemency on his surrendering troops, and it just cuts off mid-speech, and they're like, and the rest was lost.
So it's just like The Sopranos.
Just like well, that's where they got the idea.
Yeah.
Because the Sopranos, of course, can trace their lineage back to, the original Germanicus. So, which of course was a title awarded to Romans who stomped on the Germans. No, but so that's sort of the broad sweep of it. Some of the highlights include when Vespasian's troops burned down a whole town, and they're like, "This 400-year-old town is gone." And then another highlight is Vespasian's son Titus makes his reputation by quelling a rebellion in Judea. And Tacitus spends about 5 to 10 pages hypothesizing on the origins of the Jewish people. And it is wild stuff. It is...
I'm sure super, super factual and still like really relevant and probably thoughtful. In terms of content.
What's funny, he describes the Exodus, but in such a way as I've never heard it told. Instead of the Jews escaping Egypt, he has them basically being rounded up because of the plague and being forced out by the Egyptian king. He has them wandering the desert for 7 days instead of 40 years. Which I think is pretty cool. And then pretty much everything he says is pretty hurtful, I think, if you wanted to summarize it. But it's bonkers, man. Roman history, it's bonkers.
So this book, you're telling me, is the reason why we have 12 months in a year instead of 10? Because we have the extra month for Gortho and Vesuvius. And Trepidelius.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. That's right.
Cool.
Was any of that interesting, or was I just going on?
No. Well, I mean, little column A, little column B. Mostly column A.
Right.
The thing that it actually... So, like, when you were talking about, like, someone... Basically, like, the civil wars and people, like, claiming seats of power, it made me think of my... favorite thing that no longer really happens, which is the declaration of people just calling themselves Pope, thereby being Antipopes. And like there's a whole history of Antipopes where it's just people who at a certain point in history were like, nope, it's me, I'm the Pope. Everyone else is wrong. And so there's something about like just the it's a little bit like Emperor Norton in San Francisco being like, I am the Emperor of the United States. There's something just incredibly satisfying to me about a person deciding to declare themselves the leader of any appointed territory and like all of the bluster that it involves. And so I don't know if that's what you were talking about at all, but you did lose me halfway through because not because it was boring, but because I started thinking about Antipopes, thereby entering my own wormhole of something that I think about fairly often that no one else really knows about or cares about, really.
Well, that's pretty cool. That actually reminds me of something that does happen in this history, which is that Nero's kind of like the Elvis of Rome, where like every few months someone will pop up in the far reaches of the empire and be like, "Oh, by the way, I'm Nero." I don't know if you know. I'm Nero, and I'm gonna take back Rome, and he'll usually like trick a bunch of like, plebeians or whatever into joining him, and then like someone who had met Nero will show up and be like, "This is not the guy," and then he'll get crucified, and that like keeps happening.
But that's so great too, like where you've only heard of a person and like it's the easiest thing, well, not the easiest, but like the possibilities of grifting are just so much higher, like now you can just Google and be like, you don't look like this guy, but like, all you need is like the ability to act in a dream, and you too can be Nero until you're found out and crucified. There's something nice about that.
I got a point to make. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna stick the landing.
No, I want to hear it. What's your point?
No, like if I'm an Olympic gymnast, I'm gonna fly off the bars and just crack my head open. All right, here it goes.
But that's secretly what everyone wants to see happen anyway.
It's true.
Yeah, Summer Olympics is just like NASCAR.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to see him die. No, because you know what it is? What the fuck right do they have to be like 19 and so talented at a thing when I'm never going to be good at anything like that?
Train their whole lives to do it.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the Nero imposters, and I was like, how did you know they were 19? But I realize now you're talking about gymnasts who, like, okay, it's fine.
I'm talking about
there.
gymnasts.
And
I'm talking
Nero.
about sprinters, toboggan folk.
The
Really,
politically correct term is toboggan folk.
Yeah.
anyone that's trying to get off on their fucking youth and athletic prowess and virility, you know, they should take a good look at themselves and think about where they're going to be when all those Ortega's taco sauce ads dry up and no one's around to make it sound like they said something funny about their crotch, and they don't have any money anymore, and the medals don't mean anything because you're a mid-level salesman out in Topeka, and you know what I'm saying?
So
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
what's your point?
Yeah.
That you're trying to make?
I forgot. Yeah, so it's like
got
before
all
the
riled up
internet.
thinking about those young gymnasts.
Yeah.
Who was
Dedicating untold hours to perfecting a really hyper-specific craft. Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. Who was the one that was in that taco sauce commercial?
I don't know what that is.
Don't know.
One of the famous American gymnasts, after her gold medal, was in a commercial for Ortega's taco sauce. And she was like, I love Ortega's taco sauce. It makes my taco pop. And that soundbite.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Oh,
dear.
no.
Oh, my.
Right? It's not good. But yeah, so Nero impersonators. Oh, yeah. Okay. Have you guys seen the movie Paper Moon?
No.
No.
All right. Well, I can do it without. Back before the internet, you were promised nothing but what your class position deserved, I think is where I'm going with this. But you could pretend to be someone else successfully. Now, you can't pretend to be someone else, and you are promised that you can transcend your position, but it's not real. I told you, this isn't, I haven't worked it out yet.
That was pretty good. I was with you.
Oh, yeah. I was actually, that's actually, I agree with that for the most part, I think. Which is
You did it, Dylan.
Sorry.
You nailed it.
Uh-huh.
I only had to take down Olympic athletes with me.
So
I will use this Olympic athlete thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you.
I did a mess up. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly interject one of my favorite things that would improve the Olympics, which was posited by one of Ken's friends, which is that there should be one normal person in every Olympics event.
Yes.
Just so that you have like a referential scale for like how everyone else is doing. Because everyone looks like they're swimming at the same speed, but if you get like a normal person in the pool swimming laps, like then they'll really shine, you know? I just feel like it's one average person per event.
But that also undercuts some of the fun, which is being like, yeah, you suck ass, Latvia, even though they're like still top of the world and they just happen to be like the worst of the best. And so then you get to feel superior.
That is true. I realize that that's a proposal for like one scapegoat, like one sacrificial lamb that you send out that everyone can shit on, you know, but I'd
do it.
It's interesting that you say sacrificial lamb because my point was going to be that last place should be turned into dog food. It's
so
like
Dylan,
they're awarding the
really
gold
light a
medals
fire
and someone
under their
gets
ass.
led around the corner and you just hear like an old Yeller-style shotgun blast.
Just like the coach patting them on the shoulder, being like,
You did good, kid. You did good.
Dylan,
you're gonna ask me how many pinballs it is, Willie?
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably 3 or 4 pinballs. My
Okay,
justification
in
for
what
this.
Sounds pretty high, but
yeah, that's
All right, here's
that's
my
pretty close to
justification.
pinball.
All right, yeah, it is. It is pretty close to pinball. Here's what we got. We got a set. We've got a set place where the action takes place. That is from Spain to what they were calling like Asia at the time, but was actually just like to the right of Greece.
All right,
so there's a set stage in which the action takes place. The movements of the action follow specifically individuals bouncing around those spaces.
Ooh,
and in the instance where there's an instance where Otho, Civilis, Vitellius, and Vespasian are all considering themselves future leaders of some kind of emperor, and I would describe that as a multi-ball. So you have a multi-ball, you have a back and forth style movement, and it's there's a point system.
Is it like Dead Romans?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So there you go.
Or is it
Four
Alive
pinballs.
Romans?
Honestly, well, the points I think are measured in how much the gods are jazzed about you.
How does one prove that the gods are jazzed about you, if not like
good shit happens or you see a bird? It's literally like,
go.
That eagle just ate a fish. I'm going to be successful today. I'm going to do it. Oh, man, the clouds covered the sun, and now they're gone. Better not get married. That kind of shit.
I like that it's just like a moving version of an inspirational poster. Like, it's just, there are so many opportunities, like, just to find exactly what you're looking for out in the world, you know? Whether it be for good or ill.
Yeah. Yeah, like Roman motivational posters would be like when Jove sends an owl, believe it an eagle.
What comes upon dark wings comes not for you. It is.
So yeah, okay, I'll settle for 3. 3 pinballs out of
all right.
5 pinballs.
I'll accept 3 as the emperor of pinball.
How can you be the emperor of pinball when I'm the emperor of pinball?
I'm sorry to say that I am in fact the emperor of pinball this whole time.
All right. Why don't you send who you think the emperor of pinball is to isthispinball@gmail.com. And the other 2 will be unceremoniously executed.
Yeah.
All right, Amy, what have you brought for us?
All right, so the pinball table I brought today is the magical realist adventure game Kentucky Route Zero, which is my favorite video game of all time. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that out there right now. So what this game is well, first of all, it's a game by a group called Cardboard Computer, and it's a game that they released in 5 acts. The first act was put out in 2013, and they anticipated that they were going to release another act, every few months until, all 5 acts were out. They massively underestimated how long it was going to take them. So the first one came out in 2013.
And I thought I was going to upload this podcast every Saturday. Good luck, am I right? Come on, people.
I mean, to their credit, it's literally 3 people working on a game and trying to also build a game while updating their thing in Unity. Anyway, it's fine. But if you go on Steam, you'll see a lot of very, very angry people who were like, "You promised me this," when they were promised actually nothing. So the final act, Act 5, came out early this year in January, and thereby making it finally a complete game. In addition to the 5 acts, there are also interstitials that they put out in between each act to basically serve as an apology, I think, at first, for not having games out sooner.
That's the Half-Life model.
Exactly. But unlike Half-Life, they didn't just pivot to VR. Actually, they did pivot to VR. One of the interstitials was a VR play that they put on. So each interstitial was an opportunity for them to play around with a different form of medium. So one of the interstitials was very straightforward video game. Another one was a phone line that you could call into and go along this whole adventure on that way. But basically all of these things, like the whole of the game is all of these various parts they put together. But what the game actually is a story of a man named Conway who is a driver for a antique store that's going out of business, and he has a final delivery to a location called 5 Dogwood Drive, and he's unable to find it and is told that, in fact, there is no way to get to this place except by taking this like mysterious underground route called the Zero, which is a road that runs underneath part of Kentucky. And so the game itself is structured to mirror the real-life Mammoth Caves in Kentucky, with like a lot of history of Kentucky and Appalachia, and mixing in all of like kind of these weird like punk art aesthetics. I love it more than most anything I've ever played. It is often critiqued because it is very much a narrative-based game. Like there's no boss to beat, there's no like countdown timers, you're not having like Sonic having to deal with like raising water levels. Like what's going to happen in the game is going to happen in the game, and your choices really don't affect it that much. But rather what the game actually is what's that?
Pretty pinball to me.
It is. It's very pinball. You know, you feel like you have some sort of
it's the illusion
agency
of
over it. Yeah, exactly. But rather than completely pretending that that the player has a sense of agency, which is one of my least favorite tropes in video games, when you have like a narrative-based video game, but what it actually is like where they say like, oh, your choices have meaning, but you always end up at the same cutscene anyway. What this game does is all of the interactions instead allow the player to decide like what the character's past was that led them to this point. So it becomes kind of like this reverse narrative where as you play it, even though you're going forward, like the story, the backstory just keeps expanding based on your own choices. So my impression of who the characters are and what brought them to the point in the story would be completely different than someone else playing the game, just based on how they structure their narrative and their interactions. And the game itself is just super pretty. It's like this kind of very polygon basic, like blues and purples. But the people who designed it like were really interested in theater scenography. So scenography being like not just like what the set is made out of on a theater stage, but like the general atmosphere, both like the technical and the material elements of what is put on stage. And if it sounds like this game is pretty slow, it's because it is, but that's what I like about it. It's also like this kind of amazing compendium of weird art projects. So there's a lot of there are references in the game to like experimental architecture and to like folk songs and to kind of things that are more at top level, but at the same time like there is references to something called like the Max Headroom Incident, which was an event in 1987 where someone oh no, I've lost my voice and the thread.
Max Headroom, you're on track.
So the Max Headroom, so there's a reference in the game to like someone hacking local airwaves, and there was something in 1987 where someone outside of Chicago hacked a local television station for upwards of like 5 or 10 minutes just wearing a Max Headroom mask, and no one knows who the person is or where they came from, and it's one of like the few like terrestrial based hacking incidents of television stations. And there's also like references to like experimental psychology. Like there's a whole thing about a researcher named Gabriel Radvansky, who did a bunch of research about like people forgetting things when they walk through doorways and like the scientific reasons behind it. Anyway, all I ever want is just to like dive into like weird ephemera and encyclopedic information. And this game does exactly that while also like exploring like issues of debt and capitalism and being haunted. And it's just a beautiful game and it's perfect, but it is not pinball. But by Dylan's metrics, I think I can safely give it 3 out of 5. Given that there are a cast of characters who are constantly kind of careening around the space. And also, as Willie's point, you have no control over it, but the illusion of control. It is my favorite game, 10 out of 10, but only 3 out of 5 pinballs.
Amy, can I say something really quick about doorways?
Yes.
You know, people going through doorways and forgetting what they were doing?
Yes.
That's actually a failure to honor the god Janus, who is the two-faced god of doorways, the changing of the year, and liminal spaces in general. So that's probably what they're experiencing there.
Would you recommend some sort of burnt offering?
Maybe like
He's
a
got
Starbucks
2 heads.
gift card.
No, he's
Two
like
Starbucks
a two-faced
gift
dude.
cards.
Think like a normal guy, but he's got a face where the back of his hair should be.
Like Voldemort,
Okay.
or Quirrell with Voldemort, rather. Oh no. Oh no, the call went away. Oh no.
Why you hang up on me?
I didn't. My call dropped.
What happened?
I don't know. My call dropped. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, everybody stay recording still. It's fine.
Hello? Hi.
Are you
Hi.
me?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. My call dropped.
the
I'm
thing.
sorry.
Amy, when you sent what happened in the text, were you imagining it in the voice Fred Willard does in A Mighty Wind?
What happened? Yes.
What happened? That's so sad.
It is. That's the clip I always watch whenever I just need like some sort of palate cleanser, and so it's taken on a new somber meaning.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, should we do a quick... Oh, sorry, Amy, you were going to finish talking about Kentucky Route Zero, but then...
The thing that's frustrating is like I came in today, I was like, I feel like when I talk about games, I go all over the place and it's not actually helpful. And so I even wrote up things about this because it's my favorite game. And even then I'm like unable to describe why this game is so good, except to say that it is not pinball. But it's the best game. It's the best game there is, and I will stand by it.
Can I maybe attempt to lend some assistance by talking about something that I like in relation to why you like what you like? Yes. Okay, so as a kid growing up, I played a lot of Final Fantasy, and I loved Final Fantasy. And then as I got older, I was like, that's the stuff you liked when you were a kid. It's you don't have to. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be something that you liked. But I just replayed Final Fantasy VII, and I'm playing Final Fantasy X now, and they are really good. And I think I figured out what it is about their storytelling that is different from other Japanese RPGs, which is that the climax of the Final Fantasy games, Jesus Christ, the climax of the Final Fantasy games always coincide with a revelation about the past, which affects the interpretation of the story. Mm-hmm. And that's like traditional, like classically sound dramatic structure. And so when you were describing Kentucky Route Zero, this is a game that I've always wanted to play. I've always wanted to play, but I don't actually want to play it.
It's a lot of reading, and there's not a lot going on in it. But it's like watching a stage play that's striking. It's captivating. There's just scenes that they're able to unfold in ways that when I saw it, I thought like, it felt like the same way as like when someone does something really amazing on stage and like the set moves in a way that you're just like did not expect, and it's surprising in that anyway. But yes, sorry, narrative structure.
Well, but that's what I'm talking about. So like, okay, if the what is kind of, especially, and I mean this is more applicable to Final Fantasy than Kentucky Route Zero, but like, what will happen is usually pretty rote. It's like there's a sort of effeminate bad guy who you're going to beat up until he turns into some sort of squiggly god monster, and then you're going to beat him up again, and the game's over. But like why you have to beat him up and why he is the way he is where the drama is. And so if you have a narrative story, it makes sense to give the player agency over the part of the story that is most compelling, which is the why or the what, the cause, right? Right. Because effects aren't that interesting. Someone dies, someone is convicted of something, someone has to go somewhere. That all is what it is, and it has its own like dramatic capability. But like, why is the really good psychological shit?
Right.
And
totally.
So just based on what you've said and a different series of video games, I believe I've cracked it.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I think that's a really elegant way to put it that I haven't been able to really put my finger on before. Part of what I really enjoy about this game, and part of like what is especially like recently heartbreaking about it for me right now, is that it is so much about concepts of debt. Like the main, there's no real antagonist in the game. The only antagonist is like this company called Consolidated Light and Power that within the game has like moved into the area and has bought everything up. And they were like the reason for like the mines closing and people dying and like people being just like put into poverty and like all of these businesses closing. And then they just left town when it no longer had anything for them. So there's this equation of like of capitalism with a what's it called? Like with a natural disaster. Like there's a lot in the game about storms and about like just floods and things that are like beyond anyone's control. And I think that like there's a really nice mirroring of like this lack of control with like the limits of the game, which is that they needed players to do a specific series of tasks in a specific way because they weren't going to build a ton of environments and they weren't going to like have a bunch of branching paths. So that compounded with like this like turning to like what you're saying about like the building of the dramatic tension in this, the why of the story, like really melds together nicely, and only melded together in part because again it's such a small group of individuals making a game with almost no budget, you know? Like it's kind of an amazing feat.
It's funny you say equating capitalism to natural disasters, and my immediate thought was, oh, someone's been reading Naomi Klein.
Yeah.
Mine was that the state should own PG&E.
Right.
Well, that too. But it's Time Warner out here, so
we all have our like looming black cloud over us, you know. It varies by region, but you know, it looks the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 3 out of 5 pinballs. It's a game. So Dylan, I don't know if I would recommend that you play, because I think that if you played it, you would actually probably not like it. I think it is worthwhile to like play if you need something like quiet and narrative based, and you have a couple of hours that you can play like late at night when you can't fall asleep.
Yeah,
but
you know when I probably would have really dug it is when I was living at Kingsley's.
Oh yeah.
And I was just drinking till 4 a.m. every day. That probably would have been a good time to hit me with it. But now I got a lot more plates spinning, more balls in the air, if you will.
You're too busy to have like a game-based existential crisis, like a slow burn, sad story, like unfolding on a computer screen.
I'm currently carving through the complete works of Shakespeare, a bunch of Roman literature that I bought, and the 19th century Romantic poets. So
you're just booked. You're just straight booked.
Oh, I'm books ahoy over here. I can't stop.
I've actually been having a lot of trouble reading lately, but I keep buying more books.
Oh, that's because it sucks ass. Duh.
Surprise, it's been terrible this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan likes it, but look at him, you know?
What does that mean?
What is what?
What do you mean?
Sorry, that was just for Amy. You're eavesdropping on this conversation
he
with
didn't
me
say
and Amy?
anything. Yeah.
Get out of here. Hey, Amy. Hey, Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't y'all follow me over to the mail table? It's a pinball table. It's a new segment where I read the mail we've gotten in our Gmail account.
We got Gmail?
Yeah. So here we go. The first email we got has a no subject headline.
Uh-huh.
It's from Shayna Wagner, and it says, I found a Nintendo DS today. It has Brain Age on it. Is it pinball? And then there's a reply.
Oh, I love Brain Age.
How pinball is it? Well, go ahead, Amy. Why don't you talk about it?
Oh, Brain Age. Brain Age is a game for the Nintendo DS, which was, I can't remember who it was, but it was actually I don't know if it's a real neuroscientist or if it was just a neuroscientist developed like as a mascot for the game. But he's like just like a giant floating head. And the game itself is supposed to be... He
looks like Andros from Star Fox, but he looks
exactly like Andros. That is exactly
Which
right.
Andros? Monkey Andros? Brain Andros?
Somewhere between the two.
The most like polygonal one, you know?
No, I know. I was doing a bit.
It was
Remember when he was a monkey?
I do.
I'm sorry.
And he had to shoot his hands. That's not in Brain Age. Brain Age is a series of puzzles.
Wait, no, I want to talk. We can't talk about Star Fox. The moment Star Fox comes up, I just want to talk about Star Fox Adventures, but we're not going to talk about Star Fox Adventures.
Y'all have subjected me to that once already on this podcast. It may not have made the final cut, but I heard it.
Yeah. Amy, if you want to talk about Star Fox Adventures, bring us a proper review and we'll review it as a pinball game.
Fine, I'll do it next week.
Brain Age, what do you think? Is it pinball?
Oh, so we should probably finish explaining what it is, though.
It's puzzles for your brain, and you get judged by a
puzzles.
Disembodied head of a man.
It's true. Daily puzzles around math and language that are supposed to quote-unquote train your brain so as to make it younger, I guess. There's a big quiz that you can take to say how old your brain is. But I learned how to game the system, so it wasn't that I was actually good at remembering the things.
You had the brain of a newborn child. You had the youngest brain of them all, just ready to suck up knowledge like a greedy sponge.
Also, you've lost your object permanence.
It's caused a lot of problems, but, I rest easy knowing I got big brain. Biggest, youngest brain.
I think they should rate it by how sexy your brain is. Your brain's so sexy. And it's like...
That was the Japanese only release, and it's not a disembodied head.
Yeah, it's based on how many nosebleeds your brain causes on the train to Shibuya.
So is this a Connect game? Is it require some... Brain Age. Brain Age, it feels... I think 3 out of 5 pinballs is more or less what it would be, right?
We can't just give everything 3 out of 5 pinballs. I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 pinballs.
Okay, give me your reasons why it does not deserve 3.
It doesn't deserve 3 because you're playing it, under the pretense that you're gonna learn something or you're gonna get something out of it. Whereas pinball promises you nothing except for shiny lights and a moment's reprieve from existential dread. But Brain Age, I think, even though maybe it doesn't deliver on those promises, it does sort of promise them in the first place. And I don't know, that doesn't feel very pinball to me.
But it does feel like a solve against the crushing existential dread of the world, where for a brief few moments of time you feel like you have control over yourself and your destiny, which is something that I also feel playing pinball for the most part, where I am the emperor of my own tiny country, that I am my own Nero, as it were. And
all right, Dylan, what do you think?
I don't think Amy would be Nero. I think maybe Tiberius. Maybe.
Man, this would be a real burn on Amy if I knew anything about what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Tiberius was emperor.
Totally got her.
Tiberius was emperor when Jesus was hanging out. That's I don't know. Anyway, it was just the first one I remembered. What do I think about Brain Age? I want to tell you something. I either made it up or I remembered that there was a study comparing this was back in the heyday of Halo multiplayer, where they would compare the twitch reflexes of Halo players and their like trigger fingers, and then like see how quick they would like blow their load. And they were trying to establish a connection. No, seriously, they were trying to establish a connection between like being good at video games and like coming too quick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like literally blow their load, not just metaphorically. Yeah. I wasn't sure if
no,
you were
like
just...
no, seriously, like they were trying.
We're grown-ups. We can say the word ejaculate.
Yeah. In the Final Fantasy VII. In the Final Fantasy VII Remake, every time you switch control, you can control the characters individually, and every time you switch control over to Aerith, who is the sort of girlfriend protagonist lead, she goes, "I'm coming," and that was the source of much humor around my house. But yeah, so I guess when you talk about pinball and being like, I don't expect to get anything out of it, it's like. I guess on the one hand that's true, but like as brain age trains your brain to retain more information and recognize patterns and come to the conclusion that there are forces at work beyond your immediate grasp, pinball can train you to be the fastest at sex. So in that sense, I would say brain age is probably 4 out of 5 pinballs.
All right. You heard it here first, folks. I'm wrong. Brain age is pinball. Not only is it pinball, but it is 3.5 out of 5 pinballs. Good work, everyone. Let's head over to our next email. This one has the title Suggestion. It's from John Robin. Great to hear from you, John. And it says, you should check out the Pinball Arcade on the Switch. It's free-to-play pinball simulation that seems too good to be true. Haven't played it myself, but it looks like the next best thing to having your very own pinball machine in your home. Good luck, John. Thanks, John, for the suggestion. And you know what? That's what I'm reviewing today.
Hey!
I took it. Hey! So I downloaded Pinball Arcade for the Switch for free. First of all, when you open it up, a really crunchy cover version of Pinball Wizard plays at you, very loud, and the audio quality is terrible. And so you already know it's pinball because I immediately booted it up, and Ezra, my lovely spouse, was like, turn that racket off, which was what I got about the last pinball game that I reviewed. So we're off to a great start. You open it up, and it's sort of like it's really a platform, right? So I went to the mission statement here, and let me just read you the mission statement for Pinball Arcade. Welcome to the Pinball Arcade. Here you will find exact recreations of the greatest pinball games of all time, featuring tables from Stern, Alvin, G and Company, and Gottlieb. You are playing the best pinball simulation ever created. Every flipper, bumper, sound effect, and display pixel have been painstakingly emulated in astonishing detail. Please support us in our effort to preserve these tables and join the indelible part of Americana that is pinball. Great. So
I've never been sadder by something that's supposed to sound inspirational. Like that's
I love personally when mission statements start with welcome. That's my favorite. That's my favorite part of the Communist Manifesto is when Marx and Engels are like, "Welcome to communism."
When John asked, "Is it too good to be true?" Sort of yes and no on that, because it is free to play, and it comes with only one table. For free, and that is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the pinball adaptation of the movie adaptation of the book made by Sega in 1995.
That sounds great.
And it's pretty fun. All of the sound effects are original, so it has that great like 1995 Sega sound chip that was used in Altered Beast, where the guy's like, "Rise from your graves." So there's a lot of that happening every 2 seconds. Somebody's going, Victor, Frankenstein,
just in sort of a maddening cacophony of digitized sound bits from a movie I never saw. But other than that, it plays pretty good. The tilt function is pretty good. You can tilt with the joystick in 4 different directions, and it's pinball. On the other hand, you have to buy more tables, and there actually aren't even that many tables you can buy. I assume that painstakingly digitizing all of these tables actually probably is a lot of work, so there's not that many that you can download.
Do you feel like it's the
right
most,
out of the gate?
Like, did they actually follow their mission statement? Like, is every pixel lovingly recreation? Is it the most pinball? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I can actually speak to that, having been on the forums.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's hear what the forums have to say.
So there's a big Zen Pinball versus Pinball Arcade debate in the forums, and the conclusion is that while you will be better at Pinball Arcade than you would at a regular, like a real life pinball table, the example I saw a guy use was his high score on the Universal Monsters pinball table. I think it's called the Monster Bash or something like that. It's not Monster Mash, but it sounds like it. There's a table. Anyway, he scored 380 million on Pinball Arcade and can only get up to about 300 million on a real table. So the consensus I'm seeing is that playing Pinball Arcade versus playing Zen Pinball, which is what I play, is closer to simulating an actual pinball table, but is still missing some of the nuances of real-world physics and other things that would make a real-life pinball table a little more difficult. So it's more forgiving than real life, but less forgiving than Zen Pinball.
It feels very lubed. Like, everything feels real smooth and greasy flying around in there. Yeah, just the way, something about the weight of the ball, at least for me, never feels quite right as an actual pinball table.
Well, this is also fascinating to me because I wouldn't have assumed that I guess it makes sense in retrospect, but I wouldn't have assumed the goal of digital pinball tables. Like, I would have thought it would have been impossible to directly recreate playing a real life pinball table. That someone who might be good at digital pinball might not be good at, physical pinball and vice versa. Like, they just seem to be, like, is that the goal?
It's a philosophical question. It comes down to what you want to do, because like a lot of the Zen tables will take advantage of the fact that they're digital and will put in things that you could never have in a real pinball table. At the same time, they also have a lot of classic tables that they have rendered in an arcade setting. Detail? Probably not, but they've rendered them. No, but like, so for example, there's a Marvel Infinity, not the Infinity Wars, but it's like the Infinity Gauntlet table where you're the Defenders. So you're like Adam Warlock and the Silver Surfer and I don't know, a couple other schmoes, and you're fighting Thanos. And they transport you to other tables that have weird mechanics. They like alter the physics of the table based on what stone Thanos is using. So they really play into the fact that they can do things that aren't possible on a real pinball table. Whereas Pinball Arcade is like, you want to play pinball, we're giving you pinball.
Yeah, this to me feels like very much a thing for collectors. Like, remember in the first episode when Dylan was talking about how like people who are into pinball like don't actually care about the mechanics of the game as much as the collection of it, or like the components of the actual physical mechanics as opposed to like the gameplay. This feels very much like a platform for them. Each like table comes with like history about the table that you can read, and so, like, I think if you are a pinball collector kind of guy and you don't have hundreds of dollars to buy the books that we all have heard so much about, that this is, like, trying to fill that void in your life. And I don't know, I think it's fairly successful. It's free to play, and I'm not going to buy any of the other tables. They ranged from like $3 to $4. The packs are like $20. And I'm not going to spend that money on it because I'm not a pinball collector. In fact, I don't actually give a shit at all. So I say great product, maybe. Not for me, I guess. 4 out of 5 pinballs.
All right.
And that's also, I mean, free-to-play games feel weird to me on the Switch. Like, I understand on the phone, and I know that games are just moving that direction, but it's weird to, like, download a free-to-play game on your console. Like, maybe I'm just, like, an old man now, but there seems something kind of dirty about it. Like, when you and when you and I tried to play Fortnite, oh, God, that was the worst.
Oh, God, that one time?
Yeah. Sorry, what were you going to say, Dylan?
I think we lost Willie.
No, I'm here.
And neither of us knows how to call him into this. Oh, wait, no, I can.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You're there. Hello.
I'm here. Hi.
We lost you for a second, bub.
Oh, well, I'm back now.
Well, you were making a point about free-to-play games on the console. I want to hear about your guys' Fortnite adventure.
Oh, I never actually got into it.
There's not much to tell. You didn't play with us? It was just me and Olivia?
It was. I feel like I tried to get on, and either I had some sort of like brain barrier that like made me physically unable to do it at that given moment, or I was out of the house. One or the other.
Oh, okay.
I got intimidated by all the Fortnite teens.
I played it for like maybe an hour, and it was fine. And like I like colorful arcade shooters. Like I really got pretty good at Splatoon and Team Fortress 2, and so I was like, maybe I'll give this a shot, but I don't have the base like crafting knowledge that all these kids who like consumed Minecraft for 10 years do. And so really, like, I could only get to a certain point, and then somebody would build an entire castle and then just like snipe me from it. And I was just like, I'm not going to learn how to do that. And so I deleted it.
But I do feel like we need to return to Fortnite if the Biden campaign actually is able to have the Joe Biden event over the Grand Canyon. I feel like we need to make some sort of pact that we all return to Fortnite in order to partake in this, because I feel like, you know, it feels portentous, and I feel like it's an important thing for us all to experience.
It would be a big cultural moment. That's definitely true.
I think it is important if folks are unaware of part of what Fortnite does now is they now feature various celebrities in like these massive events for people to go to just like watch concerts in a digital environment. And the Biden campaign has allegedly tried to propose that there is a Biden event over the Grand Canyon, which they are very excited about and which could only go well.
I think that's such a bluff from their end. They don't even know how to hook up a computer for him to do a fireside chat. Like, I don't see that happening. That's some sort of, you know, one of the underpaid interns or whatever, like, has like a fever of 200 and just like scrawled on a napkin Fortnite event, and then that got shuffled in with the papers, and somebody said that in an interview. But like, that's not a thing. There's no way, right?
I feel like oh fuck, I don't care. Who cares?
Hey, I appreciated your effort there.
Dylan's kryptonite. You said Joe Biden. You can't say that to Dylan. He wilts like a little flower.
I really appreciated his struggle uphill to try and like, you know, say something. I thought that was nice.
Look, the thing is, I got a couple of great bits of comedy and wordplay in the chamber, ready to go. They're not for this company, and I don't think they're good for the show. So I'm just going to move past them unuttered, and I'll let those recede back into the brain mulch.
But Dylan, you know that people come here for your hard-hitting political commentary.
It's
about
true.
how politicians have poopy butts.
This one's not.
Or...
This one's. You don't want this one. Trust me. Back to the subject of free-to-play games on consoles.
Yeah.
Which I agree with you, Willie. It feels dirty. I've told you before about how I have PS Now, The other day I was reading, and Bea was just sort of going through some of the games on PS Now that are like games I would never touch if you couldn't get me to play them. Like things called like Chewy Critter Blast or like Adventure Plop, and it's just like they're like phone games, but for the console. And like, yeah, they look fun in the way that those kinds of games are fun. But I just, for some reason, knowing I could have them on my phone or something equivalent on my phone, there's something feels bad about playing them on a console. It shouldn't be on that big of a TV. It's like it took me a while to adjust to the idea of Fire Emblem as a console game, because when I played them as a kid, they were Game Boy Advance games, and then when Path of Radiance came out, I was like, what do you mean I'm going to not watch TV while I'm playing Fire Emblem? What the fuck what are you talking about? This is a game that you play while you watch TV, because if I fuck up the map and Jafar gets killed, I got to start that map over again. And I don't want to play the map 4 times in a row if I'm not watching reruns of Moesha.
It's always Jafar who gets taken out, isn't it?
I loved Moesha.
Also, yeah, Moesha was amazing. Classic. I used to watch that on TBS or whatever. Was that?
For me, I think it was UPN. Mm-hmm.
UPN, that's what it was.
Uh-huh. Oh.
Wow.
Sorry. I mean,
now we're all just thinking about Moesha in our own little private brain caves.
Well, and there's a Moesha's been on my brain because there's a place in Rome, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's in the Greater Roman Empire, but it's Moesia, and my idiot brain is like, oh, Moesha.
Of course.
Love her work. I'm sorry, I just got lost in a UPN hole. That's all that I wanted.
Hey, it happens to the best of us. Shall we wrap this up?
Did we get any more mail?
No, that's it. But you listeners, if you're out there listening, feel free to send us love mail, hate mail, suggestions, or what you had for breakfast at isthispinball@gmail.com. And we'll check it out.
And also as a reminder, isthispinballpodcast@gmail.com is also a Gmail account that I accidentally set up. And if you have secrets, send them to me there. They probably won't be read on the show, but I will read them.
Another point, I do intend to revive our dormant Twitter, Is This Pinball. You can find us at Is This Pinball.
Great.
Shall we sign off?
Yeah. That's all for now. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.